Well, I'm delighted to say that we are joined once again by Dennis Taylor, 1985 World Champion. And Dennis, look at these guys behind me here. 5 World Champions. They are the World Champions, still in the competition through to the final 8 of the Betfred World Snooker Championship. And just talk about the quarterfinal as a whole, the 8 players that are in there. I mean, there's a story behind every single one, isn't there? Whether it's Ronnie with his 6th World Champion matching Ray Reardon, Judd Trump breaking the Crucible curse, or even like Kurt Mafflin, just a great story with him coming from Norway and what he's been through in recent years.
Yeah, I don't think we've had as many stories in the quarterfinal lineup as you say. There's stories all over the place, and to see 5 former world champions, including the defending champion, in the last 8 is brilliant. Of course, the qualifiers are doing magnificently well. So it's just going to be a fascinating. I thought it was going to be at the start that I think we said this could be one of the best Betfred World Championships in many years, and it could still turn out to be that way.
It certainly can be. I mean, we've got the Crucible curse we mentioned, Judd Trump looking to break that. You've been taking on Kyron Wilson in the first session of that this morning. You were watching that game. They come back out this evening. It's finely poised, but Kyron Wilson, he's going to be a tough nut to crack, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he's played Judd, I think it's 12 times, and he's won 7-5, so he's not frightened of the current world champion, although this is the first time they've played in the World Championship. But he looked very comfortable. Probably 4-4 would have been a true reflection of the match. Judd just a couple of little errors, but very little, both players missing very little. And Stephen Hendry himself, you know, it was a very entertaining session that we commentated on this morning. I'm back on that match this evening, and I'm really looking forward to see if Judd can reverse it. He'd be looking to win this session 5-3 and level things up. Yeah,
there used to be a bit of, a bad blood between them. They both said things in the past, and they've both said there's been a clash of personalities. But recently, they've buried the hatchet. They got on well on a recent tour to Germany, so that bad blood has gone between them. Otherwise, this would have been a real. Well, it is a fascinating encounter, but it would have been even tastier.
It's nice to always have a bit of needle, but at the start of the match, I think this spilt a little bit of water, and the both of them were smiling at each other. So. Listen, but once they get on the table, the rivalry's still always there, even if it's your best mate. So, yeah, I think they've patched things up, but they're just 2 brilliant players to watch, and this evening's session is going to be fascinating.
It certainly is. And on the other table this morning, we've got a clash of 2 former world champions. And for me, different styles. You've got Mark Selby, as we know, the longer the format, the better him with his great safety defensive play. You've got the attacking Neil Robertson, who has said this coming to this tournament, he's going to choose his shot selection much more carefully.
Well, he certainly, in his last match, I was commentating on that, and he was taking his time. He was looking at all the scenarios. He wasn't rushing into his shot. Well, you know, he's going to have to do that against Mark Selby, but Mark Selby is getting stronger with each match, and he is a 3 times champion. I mean, Neil, I can't believe it's 10 years since he lifted the World Championship trophy. So he's going to be trying so hard, but it's going to be very difficult to get past Mark Selby, because if he gets a couple of frames in front of you, you know that he's going to be very, very difficult to hold on to him. So once again, they're all, you know, there could be finals, these matchups. They really could, especially with the world champions there.
One thing is for sure, though, Dennis, we're going to have a qualifier in the semi-final, because Kurt Mafflin and Anthony McGill all come through, or Phil for Anthony McGill, only 12 hours after he secured his success in the last round again, that ill-tempered game against Jamie Clark. He was back on the baize a little earlier this afternoon. He must be absolutely shattered, taking on Kurt Mafflin. He's fresh as a daisy. It seems an eternity since he beat John Higgins.
Yeah, but listen, he won't be shattered. He's still a young man, and he'll just be delighted to be there, because when he was 7-2 down, it didn't look like he was going to get to the quarterfinal. And then it was a shame that happened between the 2 players, you know, sort of one accusing the other of standing in his eye line. A shame that had to happen, but he did well to come back and beat Jamie Clark, because Jamie looked like he was going to win that quite comfortably. And he's up against Kurt Mafflin. I'm so impressed by this fella's game. He's been around a long time, as Kurt. He sort of stopped playing for 3 years as a professional. Then he come back and won the World Amateur. And then he sort of kick-started his career. But what a talent. And Steve Davis said on air that he thinks Kurt Mafflin has got the best cue action in the game. And I suppose Mr. Davis knows a little bit about what he's talking about, being 6 times world champion. But he is a fabulous cueist, and there could be a great story there, because I'll tell you what, he is going to take a bit of stopping, and he seems to be a big occasion player. So that's going to be another fascinating tussle to watch.
Yeah, somebody close to me stopped him from winning a 7th, though, didn't they?
Yeah, that's a long, long time ago, Matt. Listen, all these boys, Stephen Hendry, Ken Doherty, Steve Dave, I'm not allowed to mention 1985. I suppose it's okay doing it with you, Matt, but they always wind me up about it. But no, I'm enjoying, although I'm missing being in the Crucible Theatre. First time since, well, I've been there every year since 77, playing or commentating, and just missing being at the Crucible Theatre. But of course, we're going to be back after this finishes for the World Seniors Championship. I'll be commentating, and I'm going to play in it, even though I haven't played for 6 months. I'm there, so I might as well. I've got Michael Judge in the first round, so I'll just enjoy it. But in the meantime, there's some brilliant snooker to be played at the Crucible. And although I'm a few hundred miles away, we're right on top of the action.
And you, just to go back to that series, were you the last ball out? Did they think you'd forgot to put you in?
No, I wasn't going to bother entering this year because I hadn't practiced. But, you know, I'm going to be there, so why not? We've got a table down here. If I can get Stephen Hendry and Ken Doherty off the practice table that's in the studio, then I might have a chance. If I had drawn Stephen Hendry, well, I wouldn't have had to do any practice. I could have beat him. I mean, he was only the king of the Crucible. So, no, but just glad that the seniors is going ahead, as indeed was the World Championship. It would have been a shame if we hadn't had the Betfred World Championship this year, but we've got it. There's no crowd there, but I'm sure everybody at home and around the world are glued to it, and they're enjoying every shot that's been played.
Well, you mentioned the seniors. Won't be too long before these two of these fellas behind me are playing in that. 1985, as you mentioned, you won it. 1986, when O'Sullivan was, I said, the first time that he crossed the paths with Mark Williams. I mean, it's incredible. They're dubbed as the class of 92, of course. They've come through the junior ranks, the amateur ranks together, and through the professional. And here they are meeting in their early 40s in a quarter-final of the Crucible Betfred World Championship quarter-final. I mean, it's an incredible story. Mentioned about all the stories. This is an incredible one. And they've both been talking about, obviously, before this game, Mark Williams mentioned about Ronnie O'Sullivan, how he wanted to play him because he doesn't know how many chances he's going to get to play him in theatres like the Crucible. And Ronnie O'Sullivan was equally sentimental when talking about Mark Williams.
Yeah, well, maybe if you go back, maybe go back 6-7 years ago, all the talk was, and I never believed it. They were all saying, "Oh, it's a young man's game. You've got to be in your early 20s to lift all these ranking titles." And here they are, sort of in their mid 40s, still winning tournaments. And Mark Williams to lift that world title after 15 years was an incredible story. I think Ronnie will be a bit too strong for Mark, but you can never write him off. He's going to go out. Nothing to lose. He's going to be the underdog against the Rocket. But it'll always be fascinating to watch these two perform on the table. But Ronnie may just have a little bit too much in the tank, and Mark would have to play the way he did when he lifted the title, for the third time.
He's always created headlines, isn't he, Ronnie O'Sullivan? You mentioned about the younger man's game. Well, he had a little bit to say after his match last night about the younger brigade. I mean, and a lot of what Ronnie says can be taken tongue-in-cheek. But, I mean, where do you sit on what he's actually saying about? I mean, there doesn't seem to be as many young children or youngsters coming through the grades at present.
Well, there is a lot of talent, coming through in the game, and it's great to see them coming through. And you see them when they get to the televised stages. But Ronnie never ceases to make you laugh. To say that he could stay in the top 16 if he lost a leg or an arm was I don't know where that. I know he can play left-handed, but I think you wouldn't be able to play very well with one arm. Although, having said that, some great snooker players, I've seen, but. With Ronnie, you just have to take it with a pinch of salt sometimes. But he does make you laugh sometimes the way his interview goes.
He certainly does. Well, there he is. He's behind me. Look, these are the guys, Dennis, that have won the world title like you have. 14 of them between, and Ronnie O'Sullivan 5, 3 each for Mark Selby and Mark Williams, and 1 apiece for Neil Robertson and Judd Trump. Do you think it'll be one of these guys lifting up that old lady on a Sunday evening, or will we have a crowning a new winner?
Well, I, at the start of it, went for Judd Trump. I said he would break the Crucible curse and be the first player ever to come back and defend his world title after winning it for the first time. Even though he hasn't started firing on all cylinders, I'm still going to go with Judd. But Ronnie, you just don't know with this fella. He seems to be enjoying not having a crowd in. He loves entertaining a crowd, but he's just as comfortable and as at home without the crowd. I know he's been talking to Steve Peters, that sports psychiatrist that's been with him on numerous occasions. He's been chatting to him, so that'll be helping him. But as you said, Matt, there's so many stories, so it's just going to be fascinating to see how it pans out from here.
There is so many stories. Before I let you go, just want to talk about the tournament as a whole. We've had records broken. We had Ronnie with his fastest ever game. We had record number of centuries in the first round as well. We had John Higgins 147. We've got these cracking stories with the likes of Kurt Mafflin and being a chess fan, and obviously being congratulated by the Grandmaster. I mean, it has been an incredible tournament so far, being written in the papers. And of course, sadly, we've had no crowd. But I know that many have been glued to the TV screens because it has been really hard just to miss a second of it.
Yeah, I mean, well, unfortunately for snooker, the weather's been unbelievably good, but they'll still be getting large audiences watching. And as it builds, I think that audience will grow. And as I said before, with it, being beamed around the world, there'll be so many people watching. And okay, Ding Junhui, I mean, the crowd they would have got, or the audience in China for watching him take on Ronnie O'Sullivan, because Ronnie O'Sullivan is as popular in China as Ding Junhui. I mean, they are like superstars out there. So there's so much going on this year, and as I say, I'm certainly enjoying every minute of it, and I just can't wait to see who's going to get through to the one table situation, because that's when the Betfred World Championship really takes off. When you get to the one table in the Crucible Theatre, there's no better place in the world to play snooker. And even without a crowd, it's still going to be brilliant, I would think.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you mentioned that gets underway on Wednesday, the semi-finals. We mentioned it's been a beautiful weather outside, Dennis. The temperature's certainly rising in the Crucible as we have reached the quarter-final stage. 8 players left, including these 5 former world champions behind me, in with a chance of being crowned 2020 Betfred World Snooker Champion.
Betfred, proud sponsor of the World Snooker Championship.